everyone. I'm Gunjan. I'm excited to have Divya and Aditi today. They both are women entrepreneurs. So, first of all, happy Women's Day to everyone out here. We also wanted to take this opportunity, and today is a special day for all the women out there to, talk to some of the entrepreneurs who have started their journey and who've been successful, learn about their experiences, what drove them to start these ventures. And overall, super excited about this topic. I'm super passionate about anything entrepreneurial. So excited to have this discussion. With that, I'll pass it on to Divya, who would introduce herself, and then maybe Aditi can go next.
Hi, I'm Divya. I'm very excited to be part of this panel. Happy Women's Day to all the women, and thank you to all the men if there are more joining in later as supporters. I've been in Seattle for about 6-ish years now, and Zesty, which is my venture, is relatively recent. It's about 6 months old, I would say, in terms of launching, more in the making. Yeah, I'm excited. It's a very different path from wherever my corporate career had taken me, which has mostly been in e-commerce space in India. And then I'd say for the better part of the last decade, it's been with Amazon. No longer with Amazon, happy to report, but enjoying this journey thoroughly. And if anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to take it.
Amazing. Aditi, do you want to go next?
Yes. Hi. Very happy to be here. It's a small burgeoning community now of ISBANs. So really, really nice to connect with everyone. I'm Aditi. I'm the founder of Point of View Label. We are a functional and designer workwear brand for women, and we are on a mission to end pockets inequality. It's my it's my personal aim to make sure that we are no longer handicapped in the 21st century, where we don't have a place to keep our phones in person. So yeah, starting with that and going on to solve design flaws that perpetuate gender stereotypes is where I'm hoping to take POV. We're about a year old. We turned a year in February. And in that year, we've had, thank you, we've had, the good fortune of being covered on TV, on national magazines, but most importantly, to have served a lot of very interesting women that I personally derive a lot of inspiration from. So, yeah.
Amazing. Let's dive in. So my first question is, what inspired you, or what made you choose this path? Both of you had amazing jobs, amazing careers, prior to starting your venture. What was that trigger moment? Any of you can start.
Aditi, you want to go?
Sure. Actually, there were a couple of things, it's entrepreneurship in my experience is a little bit like sleep. It keeps coming, and then suddenly you fall asleep. So that was what it was for me. I much like everyone else, when I was in the corporate with Amazon and with other companies, I was chasing a particular title, and I really thought that once I achieved that title, my life would change drastically for the better. As luck would have it, and if you set your heart on anything, you will get it. I did achieve the title that I was seeking, and nothing changed. And that was quite the shocker, quite the awakening. But then, as I sort of stepped back a little bit to sort of see and analyze what happened and why nothing changed, I realized that I always loved fashion. I never got a chance to do fashion while I was in India because, it was just not what the smart people did, right? Smart people went to ISB, did MBAs, and then went to Amazon or Meta or whatever, things like that. But then, since I had come all the way to the US, it had been such a long journey, and all of that. I thought I had nothing else to prove to anyone, and so I really wanted to do something that I loved, that I enjoyed, and wanted to give myself a chance to do. One of the triggers, um, was when one of my friends, who was a VP at the time at Amazon, went from like one kid to work day. And as she went from these meetings, she kept her phone in his pocket. He was 2 years old. He had six pockets. She had zero. And so, it was just something that a light bulb kind of went off. And I was like, if not now, then when? And if not me, then who? So yeah, I decided to take a plunge. I don't know. Like I said, it's like sleep.
Yeah. There's some lag in your connection sometimes, but by and large, I think we are able to hear you. If there is big issue, I'll let you know. But so far, so good. So that was an amazing story. How you uh, reached on this conclusion that okay, I've had enough of corporate career. Let's dive into entrepreneurship. Divya, do you want to share yours, and then I have some follow-up questions.
Similar, but not exactly similar. Like I really identify with what she said with, it's like sleep. It comes and goes. It comes and goes. And so for me, I think one of the biggest moments has been my daughter. So she was born just 3 months before pandemic, and pandemic hit. There's hardly any family over here, and you can't celebrate anything. You can't meet 50 people. There's nothing. You get tired. And I was like, boss, this is not how I want to live and enjoy my daughter's first year. And I want to cherish every moment. I want to celebrate them. And I'm a self-proclaimed horrible sweet tooth back at home. But so I started doing things like, I would make healthy treats, blah, blah, blah. And then for my first birthday, I wanted to do something better. And I was like, okay, let's try and do it. And I automatically had realized that, what I want to do, it's beyond my skill set now. I can bake things to make them taste good, but making it look good is definitely not my area of expertise. So that's when I started looking for bakers. And I was, again, like I said, I have a sweet tooth. So I've tasted a lot of, cakes, etc. here and there. And I just didn't like it because all I would feel is I'm eating pure sugar. Like you can't taste the flavor, you can't taste the freshness. And I wanted that. So I started looking, and it was really painful because I was working with Amazon at that time. I was working international. My hours were crazy. It took me a staggering 4.5 weeks to find a baker within my budget who will do what I want and is available for that date. I was like, this is crazy. But I thought, okay, fine, maybe this is pandemic, maybe whatever. Great, got over it. Next year comes, same trouble, same things again. And I'm like, yeah, how can this be? This is a world where chef.com is starting up, Amazon is there, Uber Eats is there, DoorDash is there. How is nobody seeing this? And then eventually second years went by also. I still was within my comfort of a corporate job, chasing a title, received the title. And I was enjoying actually what I was doing. I said, okay, fine, what? Somebody else is going to come and solve this. Come third year, and when it was still such a pain, I was like, boss, done. I am done with this. And then onwards, yeah, that's when the light bulb for me was like, it has to be there. Can I please start evaluating this as a business opportunity versus just as a frustrated mom? And that's when me, my husband, a couple of friends, we got together, we discussed, and we literally went out. I mean, zestybakers.com is not built in a year. We did a physical interviews like with 70 odd parents. We interviewed 30 bakers, got slammed down on the phone also by some, did a physical version of a pilot, did another online small beta, and then finally launched about 6.5 months back. So yeah, it was a long time. And then I was like, okay, now you start checking on use all your B School, use your Amazon marketplaces analysis. Is this right for a marketplace, not right for a marketplace? And then I was like, okay, it's a moment. It's a consumer trend. It's a baker trend. yeah, I was like, you can't skip this. And I was turning 40 that year. So I was like, boss, now or probably never. And then the other aspects, I think you can't take this leap. That's for me is very important. You can't take this leap if you don't have the support and I'd say comfort and safety of, at least in my case, I can say that, of another paycheck. So my husband was super supportive and he actually said, he's like, okay, you know what, you go chase this one for the both of us and I'll hold a steady job. So that's when I was like, okay, fine. Are you sure? Because I don't know how long this is going to take. He said, yeah, go chase it. What is the worst thing? Just be pragmatic about it. Know if it's working, know if it's not working. And, we take the decisions accordingly. So I was very happy when you introduced us as new brands and successful brands. I was like, oh, not yet successful. But yeah, it's been a journey in the making. It's not an easy decision. It's probably something that you decide every day to continue. And that's what it is for me. But that's the thrill of it also.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that heartfelt story. And I think a lot of startups get started because people want to solve their own problem or someone who's close to them. So I see that common thread, and the other common thread is Amazon. So Amazon is, soon we are going to have Amazon Mafia, at least in Seattle. With that, let me ask another question. What are one or two biggest obstacles you had to come over as you started with this journey, and especially like your businesses are still new and you're looking for that tipping point, where the success is more than you would like. And is any of those challenges were related to you being an immigrant here, or were they just like typical entrepreneurial struggles? Divya, you want to start this one?
Sure. I think for me, two biggest challenges. One is an entrepreneurial struggle, which is finding the right co-founder for you. So a lot of majority entrepreneurial ventures will fail, not because of the business idea, not because of the business execution, just because it wasn't the right team to do it. So for me, that was an initial phase. It's a very interesting story. When we started talking about it, I immediately had this person in mind who is my current co-founder. And I went and I checked his LinkedIn profile and I told my husband, dude, he's just shifted his job 3 months back. This is not going to happen. He won't agree. Why? He's not in this frame of mind. So he's like, okay. And then I started meeting other people from Amazon, people outside of Amazon, through YC Founder Match, whatnot. And eventually I was like, okay, one thing that I've realized is I can't go into business. I mean, I'm not the kind of a person who can go into business with somebody they've met 2 weeks back or a month back. I need to have a value match. I need to have a perspective match, and I need to be able to respect you for long, having seen you transcend different kinds of situations and stresses in life, to know that you're in it for it. So then eventually one fine day, my husband had actually told me, he's like, why don't you just pick up the phone and call? Already you've assumed he's going to say no, so let him say no. And then I spoke to him and he was like, okay, let's do it. Let me think about it and let me evaluate if the business idea makes sense, then let's do it. And then I literally came back out of the room crying. I was like, dude, you couldn't have told me this 3 months ago. He's like, stop blaming me. I just told you right now. But that's one of the biggest ones for me. And the next one I would say is definitely associated with being a woman and being an immigrant. Maybe also to some extent, the amount of time or the lack thereof, I'd say, that I've spent in the US. I feel I'm not an extreme introvert. I'm somewhat of an ambivert, but I still felt it to be very challenging for me to go out and say that I'm doing this thing and it's valuable. And you should consider me for it because I have the right background. One, because more often than not, you're not in a room full of women who will understand this point of view and the fact that you can deliver. And then second, I literally resorted to not telling my personal story behind my venture, because people start viewing you as this is the mom's hobby project. And I feel like saying, no, dude, I have 10 years of marketplace experience. This is not a mom's hobby project. So that convincing that, I felt bad that I have to disassociate my personal story from my venture for somebody else to take me seriously. So that was one. And then I think the part where I was saying about an immigrant and coming to USA later is, my company is all about celebrations. And I think I am still to immerse myself in a lot of different cultures, which this country and this state is a boiling pot for. And just understanding all of them and bringing that perspective through has been challenging for me. And last but not the least, as an Indian, we guys haven't, I for sure in my family have not done enough business. I may know more about it than 5 other people in the room, but I will realize that I'm not speaking as strongly about it as 10 people who know nothing about what they're saying, even though my product is live, I've done the sales, and I would still feel that, no, this is not enough. So it's been a challenge to overcome that on my own.
Yeah, I think your answer resonated really well. And even when I think about starting something of my own, I think some of the challenges seem common. And like last one, which is more like imposter syndrome, where you never feel that you have learned everything. I think that always remains, regardless of whatever role you are in, whether it's corporate or whether it's being an entrepreneur. But amazing job continuing to go forward regardless of that.
Yeah.
Aditi, over to you. Would you like to share something?
I think I resonate with a lot of things that Divya actually said. Um, Not to reiterate any of that, but one of the very specific things that happened when I started my business was that fashion. I realized that fashion is a legacy business, and because I didn't go to school in the US or had a network outside of the tech world. Tech is not where women dress up, right? All of us, when we go to our offices like Amazon, Meta, blah blah, we dress comfortably, but we don't dress up with with a statement making purpose every day. And so starting a fashion business without a lot of legacy or a lot of network or a lot of industry experience behind me was very difficult. I learned everything from scratch. Even little things like sourcing, manufacturing, sampling. I had to learn from like negative to get to zero, and then build on it to get to a quality that I would feel confident taking to market. So before we launched, POV had been in the making for about 6 months, which in fashion terms is nothing, because just for context, most brands are working already, have already launched the fall winter collection for 2025 and are currently working on spring summer 2026. I was telling my manufacturers that I want to launch in season. I was creating during spring summer to launch in spring summer. And so it was a very unheard of thing for manufacturers to work on that timeline. But like while doing this from scratch, I realized that I had to develop a lot of respect for things that I did not think were technical or highly skilled or whatever else. Things like pattern making, designing. One assumes that fashion is a low skill job, and anyone can do it. But as I started to seep myself more and more into the nuances of different things of this industry, including fabric, sizing, pattern making, all of those things, I realized there was like a wealth of knowledge that people had amassed through school, through years of experience. And it was really unfair for me to come in and try and, assume that I knew better or that I even knew what they were doing. So while working through supply, getting together supply during the day, I put myself through fashion school in the night. So I at least appreciate what's going on here, and make some sense. So I think just that, just knowing a little bit of what you're stepping into, and appreciating the nuances before imagining that we can make it better is important, even when it is for non-tech businesses, for legacy businesses, for whatever else. I think that was one of the, I don't know if it was an obstacle or a learning, but that was definitely an uphill task for me.
Yeah. So learning curve was quite high, which you initially assumed wouldn't be as high.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So that was that. But I do want to end this on like a really, really positive note. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of what I would call a fashion network in the US, and most of my friends and ISBNs, etc., were techies, right? So all of my friends bought our first collection, but I am making clothes to go to work. And because these were Amazonians and Meta and Google employees, they were wearing these dressy dresses to go on dates. And while I appreciate that they bought everything, but I knew that that is not the cohort that is going to make this into a success. So I really went out and I don't want to use the word network, but really tried to find my tribe. And Seattle is an unbelievable place for that. I mean, I found so many people who supported me in every which way. Our first customer, who was, so it's a big thing, and Divya will know this. It's a big thing for startups to get their first
Unknown order.
unknown customer. I mean, 10 friends, 10 friends is equal to one unknown customer. So the first unknown customer actually was a Emmy Award winning journalist, and as we told her our story, she said this deserves to be told, and she put us on television the very next week. So just finding our tribe has really helped cross that chasm a little bit, that I was finding very, very difficult to. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, very inspiring, and also, your answers also resonate well with me. That there are always challenges, but then you kind of get over the hump, and things start getting a bit smoother. Okay, one of the big challenges that we haven't talked about is funding, because of course there's an opportunity cost. You're letting go the salary that you were making, but outside of that also you need a lot of money to run these ventures. So how did you kind of manage that? And also, I'm not sure if you are already, I think both of you are at seed funding level, but if there's more to it, would love to know a little bit more about that as well. Aditi, maybe you can start.
Yeah, I'd love to learn from Aditi.
Well, we are bootstrapped at this point, but we are currently in the process of, making our pitch deck for our first round of funding, whether it is angel or friends and family. But before we get to like a funding stage, obviously, we wanted to have a really good sense of what our product market fit is. We realized that this is viewed as a woman running a fashion business, and so it's not the sexy AI startup that gets funded, on idea and merit. So we realized that, and which is why we wanted to have like some solid numbers in from a customer perspective, feedback, reviews, success on various platforms, whether it is our own platform or marketplaces. So we know what is working, what is not, and then have a really good plan for scaling what is working. Right. About a year in, we have a good sense of where we stand, where our P&L and balance sheet is, and have much more clarity on which is the direction in which we'd like to scale, and hence how much funding do we need to raise. One of the things that we made sure though during this period is, because this was our hard-earned money, and it's like I said, it's not a platform business that goes from zero to exponential. It has it has a curve, and or it has merit of how much it makes, and sort of indicators of that from the get-go. We told ourselves that we will never sell at a unit loss. So we set some guardrails for ourselves, and we said, for instance, our marketing cost will never be more than 50%, or we will never sell at a unit loss. We put some guardrails to our decision making, so that we know we can run a business that A, can be scaled by funding, and B, can be done in a way that is profitable, that doesn't burn money to sort of buy revenue. So that's those are some of the things that we put in place before we are kind of getting ready now to raise our first round. So,
amazing. Good luck with that, and definitely share the news once you get through. And one follow-up question is, I think one of the common themes that I'm hearing is that a lot of times when you're starting businesses which are like fashion, or in the Divya's case, bakery or cooking, they start being seen more hobby projects rather than serious businesses. Do you think that prejudice also makes it harder to raise funding?
Look, there are various kinds of funding, and I think it is as important for us to understand what funding we want as for the investors to understand what is the business that we are actually in. So in my case, we haven't spoken about it yet, but while we started with solving for design flaws, the long-term vision of POV is to become like a fashion tech company. Tech has embraced all parts of everything at this point, but fashion is still dealing in a sort of being done in a very legacy way. So when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about fast fashion, everything has to do with production. What we haven't tackled is the purposefulness of fashion. So for instance, something like a heat gen or a climate technology that will make garments so much more comfortable for women in offices. The temperature in offices are still actually made for men in three-piece suits. So any woman wearing a dress and a sleeveless silhouette is invariably always cold. So, sort of working backwards from what women need from a silhouette perspective, comfort perspective, there is a lot of scope for sort of bringing together technology into making fashion purposeful. And that's where we want POV to be. So fashion, yes, but fashion tech is where I think the exponential aspect of POV is. Having said that, do I want to venture immediately do I want to raise venture capital immediately? Possibly not. I am more inclined towards, an angel or a friends and family round. But even going forward, I would like to have a strategic investor, say a big fashion house, or someone who's doing, similar things in, in accessories or whatever else. I think that would be a much better partner, because they would understand where this is coming from, and the returns of a patient capital is what I am looking for. For a venture business, it's kind of a treadmill that I don't want to personally get on. So I think it's just that having clarity of what is it that we are building and for who, and knowing that the acceptance or rejection of an idea is also part of what the investor is looking at from their thesis perspective, or where they want to put their money or where their interest is. I think it's a very non-personal thing. It's very difficult to dissociate that it's a non-personal thing, but I guess it is.
Yeah, and there are so many sorry, I think I hear some echo. And there are so many success stories where we've seen, some of the biggest businesses of today, they were rejected for initial round of funding. So, I mean, initial no is not a no. You got to keep going. Divya, do you want to share your experience around funding and
Yeah, we're bootstrapped too. As Aditi already said, it's a platform business. So it's a marketplace. We don't do any in-house baking. It's just a marketplace to connect you with local licensed independent bakers who really pour their heart and soul into what they're making for you. It's fresh, never frozen. We ensure that you get delivery, etc. So I think from a funding aspect, as you said, Aditi, there are different companies, there are different industries, different capital investments that are required. So typically, when I talk to angels or just mentors, also they can't believe that we've kept our costs so low, and I think it comes intrinsically to us. A, bootstrapped. B, the culture that we are from. We're used to doing more with less. I mean, it's a big value over here, but that's just ingrained in us from childhood. So I think that rigor and that discipline, that rigor and discipline around how you spend money, where you spend money, and why you chose to spend that much money on that thing is very critical. And I think investors also look for that eventually, because at the end of the day, if you think about it, unless and until it is a strategic investor, what can a VC do to help you grow? Write you a bigger check or write you a check again. So they've got to know that you're going to be responsible with this money. That's one part of it. We're still bootstrapped. We're also literally raising our round now. We will be opening it within the next week. And yeah, we platform business. So I think it comes very, like Aditi said, different forms of funding. You could have gone for grants. You can go for debt funding, credit lines if you want. You can go for angel. You can go for FNF. You can go for VC money. There are many, many different types. You could even go for a strategic partnership where you're not getting paid in cash, you're getting paid in kind. It could be marketing, it could be placement in stores, etc. So for me, I think just understanding the marketplace businesses, having done this for a whole decade, is that it is a business that follows the classic J curve. It is meant for VC scale. Marketplaces as niche don't grow. If it was B2B, maybe, but this is also B2C. So in B2C, there is this whole trust and marketing and branding element that comes with money. So now if you take on venture scale money, as she said, it's very important to understand what kind of venture funds do you want to target? What is their thesis? What is the expertise? And what is the knowledge that they bring into it? The spray and pray model is really bad for your own health, own mental health also, when you go seeking funding. If you go to everybody without even having read their thesis, why they want to invest, and etc., it gets overwhelming to deal with the rejections of it also. It's not, it's like she said, it's not personal, but it feels personal. So you have to be able to disassociate it and look at it as just a means to an end. You're targeting that end. Go at it whatever way. And then I think as a founder, you need to prepare for eventualities. See, I said earlier that I don't understand the culture, and I struggled with that earlier. But the other thing when I talked about confidence was this whole networking piece. Kudos to Aditi that she went out and she, for the lack of a better word, networked a lot and got the resources. It took me to have 50 or 60 orders already on a live functioning website to say that now I can go out and probably try and talk about it. And even then, if I'm standing in a group of 5 people, I would have found myself talking very less because I would feel I haven't done enough. And the person opposite me would probably be talking about an idea stage which isn't even fully baked yet. Sorry, one sec. Have fun. So that, I think, just going out there, understanding, when I started doing this, you realize that a lot of times ventures and angels aren't investing in only the idea. The idea is probably 20% at best. The rest, they're investing in A, the execution, and B, and most importantly, you. How you show that you can do this. How are you thinking about it in its vision? How are you thinking about everything that can go wrong? And how will you deal with it?
Yep.
Like, I haven't submitted yet, but I've started filling some of the applications, and a big, like, you have character limits to answers, okay? Interestingly, the maximum character limit goes to the question, tell us what all can go wrong. So you have to think through all of these and really putting it in, thinking it through, and taking your head out of it. You're a founder, you're close to your business, you're passionate about it. But if you are going for fundraising, you have to forget the business. You have to tell them the investment opportunity, because that's what they're looking for. So most founders don't do this. And I didn't do it till I got into a mentorship program who told me that this is what you need to think about is exit. I can get funded $10 million, but if there is no exit to my company, those $10 million mean shit. Nothing. So for the investor as well as for the founder, for everybody, how and what is your path to an exit? How viable is that path? Study that, research that, and present that, so that now this investor feels this person has an eye on the end game also. Really thinking all of that through is an exercise in itself. It's a mind invigorating and yet by the end of it, mind numbing exercise, but it's worth it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your experience, and also in a very detailed manner. And I mean, I agree. Like, it's not just about like what business you are in and what you're planning to do, but exit plan is quite important, because at some point in time, investors want their money back, and they need to know what would that look like, because it's not indefinite period that they are loaning or giving you money for. So yeah, good insight there. We've got about 15 minutes, so I'll just go over 1 or 2 questions, and then we can probably conclude the session. So you did mention, and we can keep this one short only, but just wanted to hear your thoughts, because you did mention mentorship a few times. Were you able to find the kind of mentors you were looking for through this journey, or were there gaps which you hoped didn't exist?
Wow, that's a loaded one. I can think through it in my head. Aditi, do you want to take a first stab?
Yeah, I think mentors are game changers. Having mentors and advisors, A, keep you accountable. B, are so much better at spotting, either your flaws. Sometimes, as founders and as people who are really close to operations, one gets caught up in the operations of things, and while you don't lose sight of the vision, the urgent takes precedence over the important. And so mentors and advisors are just your guiding lights who keep calling you back to your purpose, or keep holding you accountable to what you should really focus on. So I think having as many people who are thinking about you, evangelizing you, keeping you on track is key to how successful in what time a business will be. Um, from finding a mentor perspective, I think I found a lot of people from my previous lives, my corporate world, who were looking to sort of become part of startups, or who believed in me personally and were willing to share their time and advice. There are various kinds of mentors as well. There is the very, very high level strategic, mentor that sort of puts you in the right rooms, connects you through, evangelizes you, someone you use as a touchstone on big milestone occasions. Then there is, let's say, a functional advisor or a functional mentor who fills a gap that is not within your current skill set. So finance is a big gap for me. Export import, all of that was not something I had done hands on, and so learning a little bit of that from someone who will meet with you twice a month, possibly, was very, very important to me. And then, of course, there are industry mentors who start to make undeniable connections that I wouldn't have been able to make myself. So, connecting me to, let's say, Nordstrom or Stitch Fix or whatever else, those are people whose words and credibility matter and rubs off on you. So I think having like a not a board really, but having a set of people who can advise you at all of these levels is great for A, keeping you on track, and B, for your sanity. They're just really expensive resources that a startup cannot afford to hire at the get-go, but you get them on merit of relationships or credibility or whatever else you have with them. So very, very, very cherished part of my business.
Yeah.
Divya, do you want to summarize in next 2 3 minutes? Then I have one more question and we can wrap it up.
Yeah, sure. No, so finding mentors for me, again, like I said, I'd been shy for the longest while in going out and networking about it. If somebody asks me to look back and say, what's one thing I would have done different? I would have said this would be what I would do different. Start talking about it early on. You don't need to build it till you go and talk about it. That's it's a mind shift for me in the last 3 months. I don't need to build it before I talk about it. I can talk about it. So that, yeah, I think mentors are very important. There are a lot of different events groups in Seattle who do offer mentorship. But I think if somebody is coming and straight out of corporate job, they probably would not have even interacted with all of these groups to know them, which is what my situation was. So I would probably say if anybody is dabbling with this idea of becoming an entrepreneur, go ahead. Be generous with your time. Go give your own time to other founders, to people who are evaluating things, and that is when you will find the right tribe of mentors yourself for when you want to get in. You may even find the perfect co-founder over there by chance. You may be ready to go and not have an idea, and you may find a person with an idea and who's looking for a co-founder where you can add value. So I think it's very important, but I would also like to say that Seattle is doing, I think it's stepping up the game and trying to organize this whole mentorship scene in a couple of, like, there's, I think, Aditi, did I meet you at F-Bomb once? So there was F-Bomb, there is Venture Mechanic, there is Seattle Startup Friends. Jen Holler does a good job of trying to connect. She's like a super connector in the industry. She tries to connect you to people. So it's really about going out there and asking for help. I think asking for help is something that doesn't come naturally to us, and it's really important. So yeah, I think they're doing a fine job, and you cannot have enough mentors, but you have to know how to use your mentors.
Yeah, very passionate answer there. That brings us to our last question. What are some of the things you think that you should have, it would have been nice for you to know when you started? And any women out there or anyone who wants to start their, or who's looking to start their business at some point, what are one or two key pieces of advice you would want to give them?
I would say start networking early. A lot of times people feel that you are, oh, somebody will steal my idea. It doesn't mean anything till it's out there. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Go out there, talk. The more you talk, the more you will believe in it or face challenges. So that's important. Network in advance so that there is this whole journey that you have to go through to launch it. Try and see if you can crunch that bigger time to this. And last but not the least, again, I learned this through my mentorship program and classes that I did. You do not need to start building a physical product, a service, a marketplace, anything till you have literally answered your whys and you have done enough customer research. I cannot stress enough upon it.
Very well put together, Aditi.
Yeah. Plus 1,000 to all of that. I think I'll add two very basic things to this, and I did this wrong, so I want to sort of bring it up. Get to know where to incorporate, which is the best state. I incorporated in Washington. The best state to incorporate for startups is Delaware, right? And I should have known that, but I didn't. I mean, depends on what you want to do and all of that. But for most startups, that's where it's incorporated, because that is where most, let's say, investors like to invest in. It has some laws, all of that are very beneficial for investment. So do the groundwork on admin. Know how to keep your books in order, how to incorporate company, how to sit around and do like a cap table discussion, right? When you're starting off, especially when you're starting off with friends, it's such a warm fuzzy feeling of starting up that you don't really put in enough thought of who brings what to the table, and what does a cap table look like, how much you're willing to give, let's say, an investor, a future investor, a future employee, blah blah. These things seem very far in the future, but they catch up really, really soon. So I think having clarity, in addition to everything about consumer research and your why, I mean, those are the fundamentals. But in addition to all of that, keep these sort of clarity on things that
I think she'll come back. Usually it's a second or two.
Aditi? Okay.
It's fine. I think anyway we are towards the end, so I'll let her fill the gaps when she's back. So any final words with Divya from you as we wrap it up?
For people who want to be on the Entrepreneurs, I think talk about it. Really just talk about your idea. Talk about what you fear in that, what you love in that. Talk to friends, talk to potential customers, strangers, and document it. Unconscious bias is a real thing, and when we hear stuff, it's true. We keep in our head what we want to remember. But take the help of AI, record it, document it, find things out, and then really look at it. See, I think you have to execute you have to be passionate enough about the business to want to do it and to stay in it. But you have to be rational enough to take the right calls to make it reach that stage. So this passionate and rational, this switching of hats is something that you have to be able to do. Or if you can't, fine, understand your own flaws, get a co-founder who can complement your skill set.
Got it. Aditi, I think we lost you for a second. So I was asking Divya to share any final words, similar to you, any final words as we wrap up this session up.
Okay, I still don't see you guys, but I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh,
We can
yeah.
hear you fine. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah, final words. I think um, I would just highly encourage.
Oh,
Okay, I think we lost her. Not
yeah.
not a problem. We'll just give it a second or two if she is joining in. But just wanted to say from my side, I think I really enjoyed this discussion. I think we had a very interesting and Aditi, I think you're back, so we'll let you finish before I say my part. Okay.
Sorry about that. I don't have a lot to say. I just wanted to underline that if there's anyone who's thinking about it, go for it. You're never going to be ready. It is never going to be perfect. It's going to be fucking hard, but it's a spiritual journey. And whether the startup succeeds or you succeed or whatever else, that's an outcome. But the journey is unbelievable. You get to know yourself so well that you start to sort of love your resilience and meet so many great people along the way. It is entirely worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well put together, and I don't think I could have summarized it better. I mean, overall, I feel that this discussion was something which I really enjoyed. I'm a one-upreneur, as Divya said. I'm sure a lot of us are. So for me, I think being able to communicate or discuss with two people who've gone through this journey from similar background, I think that has given me a lot to think. And I'm sure folks would be watching this video later, they'll also get some great insights. So once again, congratulations for having get started. I wish you both very well. I know that you would be super successful. And just thanks for coming and sharing your insights. And hopefully we'll have more such sessions later. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so
All
much.
the best, guys.
If you ever want to get together and brainstorm or just throw things at a wall, feel free to hit us up. We were not kidding when we said, we offer it to the universe first before expecting it back.
Yeah, you have to do that. And again, if you feel if you feel that you know a lot, you don't want to just do a one-on-one, you prefer the academic session, hit me up with what are the kind of things that you're wanting to study about, learn about. And I'll see if I can find relevant classes, literally classes for you to tell you where to go, spend that 5 hours in an evening or 4 hours in one evening and absorb.
Yeah. These are very generous offers. So anyone who is hearing, watching this, please feel free to take them up. And thanks once again, everyone, to coming here on Saturday morning, actually. And we are looking forward to doing more such sessions and hoping to have you guys back again. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch up with you later.